this morning. You do have to travel. Do so very cautiously. In fact, I'm even saying don't even travel this morning unless you absolutely have to, just because of the fact we are seeing some very dangerous conditions with the amount of snow we are seeing, the very strong winds, and reducing that visibility, and it's that wet, heavy snow too. So that's just something to keep in mind. Again, snow-covered and slippery roads across the area, in and around the Holyoke area, and also over towards areas near Moose Lake. We've also had reports of some water over County Highway B near Foxborough, and also around 4.5 inches of rain, or just a little under that, in and around the Holyoke area. We'll have that thunderstorm in Crow Wing County, severe thunderstorm warned. And you can see that right now, that area of pink just south of Crosby right now. So it's mostly for the areas in the shade of orange. But again, we'll have a small break later on this evening. Now, I'm actually on top of the lift bridge, at least on the pedestrian walkway. And you can even see from here just the strong waves crashing into the, moving into the
hot one. I know we've been singing that Nelly song all day
yeah.
today.
Yeah, we definitely have this morning. This forecast kind of reminiscent of that. It's just going to be super hot the next several days. And of course, our average this time of the year is only 75 degrees. Now, temperature, Natalie, it's not too bad, I guess. I mean, it's around 50. It's not the warmest, but I have jumped in Lake Superior before in May when it was still in the 30s, so it's a little bit better.
And you lived to tell about it.
I have, yes.
That's the thing about Duluth is the water doesn't get warm until at least August, so at least we understand what we're getting ourselves into. Yeah, sometimes even September. You're not wrong there. Awesome. Well, thanks, Austin.
Hey, Austin, what's your favorite food?
Well, I know we talked about this in the last hour, but
yeah.
I do like pizza as well, so
sure.
Not really picky on that, like pepperoni and sausage. Kind of keeping it simple.
Sure.
And then chicken, of course. You know, you can't go wrong with that. But I feel like with this whole thing, I think I celebrate it every day instead of just. So here's that low pressure down to our south. That's going to continue pushing towards our area into its night. So around 6 p.m., the snow is starting to enter southern Minnesota, and it'll eventually move into the Northland sometime after about 8 p.m. tonight, and it could become very, very heavy at times in spots, especially you see those darker blues on that map. We'll still see some lingering snow into the noon hour on Wednesday before we slowly wrap that up into Wednesday evening. So let's take a look at this right now. So around 2 p.m., northeasterly winds between 5 and 10 miles per hour, around 5 to 15 here in the Twin Ports. You can see by about 9 p.m. that snow is just down to our south, but it's starting to move in, and that wind is also increasing too tonight. And then you can see by 1 a.m. that snow encompassing the Twin Ports, east central Minnesota, and northwestern Wisconsin. It's still dry to the north. Now, we're also going to see some very strong winds with this system out of the north and northeast. Inland areas 10 to 25 miles per hour. Lakeside areas 20 to 35 miles per hour. And we could see wind gusts approaching 50, 55, maybe even 60 miles per hour at times, which is why that lakeshore flood warning is in place. The snow and the wind continues through most of the day on Tuesday, slowly wrapping up into Wednesday night with the winds calming down.
Now, the CBS 3 WeatherMax forecast with meteorologist Austin Haskins.
Well, we ended up breaking a record high temperature here in Duluth yesterday, and also, too, hitting 90 degrees for the first time in nearly 2 years since August of 2018. We hit 93 degrees. Previous record was in 1937 at 90. Hibbing also set record high yesterday of 91 degrees. Previous record was 90 also, set back in 1974. This morning, pretty quiet conditions, very similar to yesterday morning, just a few of those high, thin clouds moving across the area. Otherwise, generally pretty quiet. Even across the two-state area, things are pretty quiet as well. Again, just a couple extra clouds across the western half of Minnesota. And here are the highest temperatures across the state yesterday, and really everyone was in the mid to upper 80s to those lower to middle 90s. And believe it or not, we were warmer than the Twin Cities, Madison, and Eau Claire yesterday, something we really don't see happen all that often. And highs today are going to be very similar across the two-state area to what we saw yesterday and even into Saturday as well. This morning, temperatures generally in the 60s, got a few 70s like Milwaukee at 71, the Twin Cities 72, 74 out towards Grand Forks and Fargo, and 66 here in Duluth. And those winds are pretty light to calm really across not only our area but the whole two-state area as well. And those dew points, they're still pretty high into the 50s to the northeast, otherwise generally into the 60s, the Twin Cities near 70, and Fargo at 71 degrees. So why has it been so warm and obviously so humid too recently? Well, got a little bit of an omega shape into the jet stream in the upper levels where the winds are a lot faster. Got high pressure dominating our weather, big ridge in the jet stream, which is why it's been so warm. Also humidity too, because the winds are coming up from the south, or pulling in that moisture from the Gulf. Then over across the west coast and then also across the east coast, You got areas of low pressure or a trough in the jet stream, and that's where those cooler temperatures are going to be found. And looking long term, we're not really going to see this move very much. So that heat and the humidity is going to be with us for the time being. So let's look across the two-state area throughout the weekend. So highs today, generally in the upper 80s to low to mid 90s. Could see a stray shower or thunderstorm across southern Wisconsin and to the north and west, but generally looking pretty quiet. By tomorrow morning, temperatures falling back into the 60s. Some areas, some models are showing 70s. I think we're generally going to be in the 60s to maybe some 50s for the most part. Hot again tomorrow with highs again in the 80s and 90s. Could see a few showers and thunderstorms developing into the afternoon and evening hours. Very spotty in nature. Very warm again Sunday morning. By Sunday afternoon, a slightly better chance of those scattered showers and thunderstorms. Once again, highs in the 80s and 90s. So across the state, say plenty of sunshine. Minor chance to the south of a stray shower or storm with highs again in the 80s and 90s. And very similar to tomorrow as well, with a few extra clouds over to our west as that system passes through the area. And quickly looking at that 7-day forecast here in the Twin Ports, Jenna, that heat, humidity still going to be with us with a few minor storm chances as well. So if you've been enjoying this heat and humidity, well, it's looking to be sticking with us at least through the end of next week. I'm not really seeing any indications of it cooling down anytime soon.
Gotcha. Well, and definitely something else to mention, too, is because we may or may not get rain until tomorrow night, and with all that heat and sunshine, if you're going to light off fireworks or any sort of legal fire-related celebration, legal one, be careful at least if that's something that you really, really feel you have to do, because that fire danger, of course, is always there until we get a really, really good rain, which looks like it may or may not happen coming up next week.
And with the humidity, too, that does help a little bit. It adds more moisture into the air. But again, we don't want all the rain at once, because as you saw what happened earlier this week down in west central Wisconsin, that's what we don't need.
No,
we get a couple days of, you know, half-inch, 3/4 of an inch of rain, that's going to help.
Yeah, so just be careful.
Exactly.
Thanks, Austin.
Yep.